This is Speak On It. What's up? This your host, the Life Changer, and this is another episode of Speak On It. I got a special guest here in Chicago. It's a special edition.
Special edition.
My girl Ally. We about to go up. We about to be lit. We about to speak on it. We not gonna hold anything in. What can I say? She about to be an agent. She working for NBC Sports.
You got it.
She in criminal school. Law school.
Law school,
She in law school. She just was student of the year for this year.
This year, yeah, 2020 and 2021.
All right. Yeah. So this my girl Ally, man, I made sacrifices to make this happen. She made sacrifices to make this happen. We made it happen.
We're here.
We
That's
did
all
it.
that matters, right?
That's all that matters. So
in the city.
Let's jump right into it. How you doing?
I'm good. It's a beautiful day. We're living, we're breathing. Blessed to be here.
That's good. That's good to hear. You in the city of Chicago. You know, they say like this is the second murder capital from where I'm from.
Yes.
I thought you was from the South Side, but you're not from the South Side. So
I'm
like,
not.
Like where you from?
Yeah, so I'm from Rockford, Illinois, born and raised there. But Rockford is highly known for its crime, unfortunately. So growing up, lost a lot of friends to the system, went to more funerals than I can count on one hand. I say that all the time. Actually, somebody who was like a brother to me when I was 18 years old, senior year in high school, Jalen Shaw, was shot and killed on Super Bowl Sunday. And up until that point for me, I lost a lot of people. Like I said, we'd been to a lot of funerals. It was nothing new. And so I think when you hear those statistics of like, or the quote, if you will, of like, more graduation parties or more funerals than graduation parties. Yeah. Some people are like, oh yeah, right? But that was real. That was real. And for me, when Jalen was killed, that really propelled me to, okay, I gotta go do something, right? That one hit home so bad for me that I had to go, right? I had to go and do something for myself, and I knew that he would want me to do that.
So did that lean you more towards law school and working in the system to try to free people or try to get people out the system to do better things, because your life could be taken any minute?
Blink of an eye. Yeah. I think the thing, like looking back on it, I always say that's the coolest part about your journey, right? Is because when you look back on your journey, you realize, yeah, that played a role. Right? That played a role in who I am today and the journey that I took. In that moment, I'll be honest with you, law school was not on my mind. And so I tell everybody, that's in the article for Student of the Year, was I did not know one single lawyer, right? Nobody where we came from became lawyers or doctors, right? It was just, success was defined as graduating high school or getting your GED, right?
That sounds like a familiar story.
Right. Yeah. So, it was just cities like St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit, right? Like if we're talking Midwest only, it was tough. Like I'd be lying if I sat here and said it wasn't tough, and I didn't have it nearly as tough as a lot of people, right? But it was tough to kind of see everything unfold that way, and I didn't know any different, right? I was born, I was raised there, and it wasn't until I moved here to the city, which is really no different, right? This city is
it's not a big of a difference, right?
Yeah, so I think, looking back on my journey, did how I was raised in the community that I was raised in play a role in me going to law school? 100%. Did I know it at the time? No, right? If you would have asked me when I packed up my bags and I left at 18.
So you went from being not even thinking about law school, to being the #1 student in your class,
Yes,
or like,
yeah.
or in the school?
So the National Law Student of the Year is actually in the whole country.
Dang, that's in the whole country. You went from being,
So
dang.
actually it was a magazine and it was a whole thing. So I mean, it was probably one of my biggest accomplishments. But what I say about that, the National Law Student of the Year thing, to be honest with you, it stands for more than just me, because I feel like my story can show, at least in some sense, you don't have to know a lawyer. You don't have to come from money. You don't have, your dad doesn't have to be a lawyer. You don't, like I said, you don't have to come from both parents going to college and both parents having jobs or any of that. I mean, I always tell this story, and maybe we'll get into kind of filling the gap between when I left and when I came here, and got into law school. But I got into law school and I worked my ass off to get in. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember calling my family and being like, I got in, right? Like, I'll never forget getting that email.
Right,
my mom waits, next day calls me and goes, Ally, I'm happy for you, but how are you going to afford this?
I don't know.
I don't know, right?
I don't even know how I got in there. So, right. Mama, I don't know what to say.
I don't know. And I think, that uphill battle, right? Law school is expensive. I was fortunate enough to get some scholarship, but you're still signing your name on a piece of paper for a loan. There's not one other name on there but yours. That money's going to accumulate interest over time. I mean, that's scary. I was 21 years old when I made that decision. I had no credit. I had nothing, right? And I was signing away my name. Like, I was
not even
putting
knowing.
myself into debt, right? And I had no idea what I was doing. And so getting to the point where this past year I was named Student of the Year, for me, it just goes...
Like, oh,
yeah,
man.
it means everything to me, but it really means more to me in that it doesn't matter where you come from.
So speak on when I heard you say 2 parents. You don't have to have 2 parents. Did you grow up with both of your parents at home?
Yeah, so my story is kind of unique. I did grow up with 2 parents in the home. Very fortunate for that. They're both still here, love them to death. But my dad was diagnosed with a very serious disease when I was 8 years old. So he had to stop working, was on disability, in and out of the hospital, kind of through my own childhood. And to be frank, like, looking back on it, it's really a miracle that he's still with us today. And so, one, it made us grow. I have a younger brother and it made us grow up fast. But 2, it was, did I have 2 parents? Yes. Am I blessed to have 2 parents? Yes. But it was not 2 incomes.
Ooh,
right? So it then became one individual, who's my mom, working her ass off for me, my brother, and my dad, right? And all of those medical bills and keeping things afloat. I think, you get married and have kids someday and you make life decisions based off both of your incomes. And then in a blink of an eye, that gets taken away from you, right? And so that was tough growing up. And I mean, I worked since I was 15 years old, and if I wanted it, I had to get it, right? And I think looking back on it, I mean, there were times, especially going to college. I went to college here at DePaul.
Yeah.
Private
I was
school.
going to get into that.
A lot of money, right? And I come in here and I'm like, what the heck? People just getting allowances still, right, from their parents and things like that in their college.
And you ain't getting none of that.
None of that, right? And so there were times, I'll be honest with you, where I was like, this sucks, right? Why me? Why me? Why do I have to work? Freshman year in college, I'm working weekends at a restaurant and doing all these things. Just, my mom said, you want to live in Chicago? Figure it out, right? And I look back on it now, and I would not be me if I didn't have to hustle like that.
So,
right?
So do you believe in having favor?
I think, if you're blessed with 2 parents, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, right? To have parents that are able to help you out. But I think you hustle a little bit different when you don't have that, right? You don't have a fallback plan. I tell everybody this. I have a plan A and I don't have a plan B, because plan A has to work. All of my marbles are in that basket for me, and that's it, right? And I think if you have people who, and not to say I don't have people that have my back, I do.
Right.
I have a whole, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a group behind me, but in a certain sense, right? I'm making big life decisions and signing my names on loans and stuff like that. That's on me.
Yeah, that's on you.
Right? And so, like I said, I put all my marbles in my own basket and just knew that I had to make that happen.
So where did the NBC Sports come into play at? Cause like you doing this, you in school.
Yeah.
Like did somebody just come and say, hey, I like your personality. I love to have you on NBC Sports.
Yeah.
Like how did that even come about?
So I actually played, I think we talked about this before we started filming, I was a basketball player.
Right,
growing
yeah.
up. So I played volleyball, I played softball, I played basketball, but basketball was really my focus. So I played AAU basketball, traveled all over the country. Yeah. Loved it.
Was you good? Like, or you just knew how to play basketball? Like,
I hooped.
You were starting?
I hooped, yeah. I started, I played
What
varsity.
position you start?
I was a shooting guard.
Oh, Could you shoot? Or you just played shooting guard because of your size? I don't know.
I can shoot, and I always say I still got it. Bring me to
So do you work out a little bit? Like in the gym and stuff?
Yeah. So I mean, I still work out just in general, right? Like normal people workouts, if you will, right? But whenever I go home to Rockford, I still go back to the gym and play. So it's always a good part of me.
So take us back to the NBC Sports. Like take us through that.
Okay, so here you go. So played sports my whole life.
Right.
Grew up in a very sports-oriented family. Like it was sports, right? And so I really wanted to go play in college, but I actually ended up having 2 knee surgeries. We won't get into that. It was a whole, I got hurt twice. And so it kind of came down to, what do I do, right? I had never thought beyond the game of basketball, right? It was like,
so
I'm going to go to
WNBA
college. Well, I was going to go to I was going to go to college to play. Like that was growing up, that was, okay, one step at a time.
Right.
I'm going to go to college and I'm going to hoop.
Yeah.
And then the knee things happened, and it was like, okay, this isn't really, it's not looking up, right? I got to figure something out.
Right.
And so I actually, DePaul was the very first college that I went to. We're not far from it, actually. Very first college that I visited. And I said, if I get accepted here, I'm going to go. Just loved it. Loved the city. And kind of wanted, once I came here, kind of wanted to find a way to integrate my love of sports still into my life, right, in some other way.
Yeah.
And so I was a minor in journalism when I first started at college. And
was you like a walk-on? Did you try to play?
No, I didn't.
It was over with. It was over with.
Yep.
At this time.
So I played like club basketball, right, just for fun, and played intramurals and stuff. But
yeah,
it's never been the same, right? So you can't make when you have 2 knee surgeries, big ones. I mean, to give you a little way of background, so this is not my real knee anymore. So it's a cadaver's knee, a dead person. My ligaments had been gone so long, they were disintegrated. I had to get a cadaver, and they remade a knee essentially for me and screwed it all in. So I was never the same after that.
You think you could beat me?
Yeah.
You never seen me play.
I don't need to. I always say that. I don't need, if you're a hooper and somebody says, can you beat him, it's always yes.
I don't care.
I don't care, right?
That's why I asked you. It was a trick question.
You always say yes.
So let's speak on some deeper things. Like that was you, that was some of your story. Of course, it's more to that, your story. You can't say it all today, right?
Right.
Let's speak on like what's going on in this world. Like we sit here together today.
Yeah.
You white, you Caucasian, I'm black, I'm African American. Like, do you think it ever changed? And I see you posting stuff on social media all the time, where it's fair game with you. What's right is what's right with you, and what's wrong is what's wrong with you. And I seen you post like, it's probably like a couple weeks ago, a month ago, or whatever, and you said something like, if you got any white friends, this the time for them to speak up and say something. Like, I think that's the only thing I can remember. It probably was something else too, but there was something that I remembered, and I was like, I like her. Because, and it wasn't just because you said something that everybody feel as being black, but it was just because of you spoke out and said something. You actually said something, and you didn't have to say anything. But I know growing up, with you being white, some things was different.
Inevitable, right? Yeah.
Like, and I'm just saying that. If
Yeah.
you probably had it hard just as much as Van Vliet. Like you said, you grew up with them. But, you know, but the color of your skin is a difference.
Always.
We two different colors right now, right?
Yeah.
So I know people treat some white people different than they treat black people. And some people, I got a lot of white Caucasian friends that love me. I love them to death. We get along. There's nothing said about black or white or nothing like that. But you one of them people that's just like, what's right is what's right.
Yeah.
You know, so kind of speak on like even growing up in it, or even some things you seen where maybe some black people got treated wrong and you was like, nah, that ain't right.
Yeah.
Because I never seen nothing like that.
Right, yeah, because you see it from a different view, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
there you go.
When you're in that seat, it's you. When
There
I'm
you
in
go.
that seat, I'm looking
Them.
at you next to me,
Right,
right?
look at them.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I think to answer your very first question, do you think it'll ever change? I damn hope so, right? And I think our generation has to be the one to do it. And I think
That's
people,
tough.
probably my biggest pet peeve is the people who say, well, it'll never change. It's been like this for decades. It'll be like this for decades more. It'll never change. That attitude is a problem. Because if you're okay as a Caucasian person living in a world where it'll never change, you are part of the problem. So as a white person, you better get up every single day and do something to change that narrative.
There you go.
And so I think growing up, God, I could tell so many stories. I mean, just some examples, right? Like friends saying, Ally, you have to sit in the front seat. If you sit in the back seat, cops are going to think we kidnapped you.
What?
Who would have ever thought of that? But think about it. You got 3 or 4 different black people growing up in Rockford, and they're all my friends, and me.
Yeah.
The way that this world has been created, somebody could look in on the outside and get that connotation. That I'm like there against my will, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that. I mean, instances like that, or even just parties that we go to. Say it gets busted by the cops or something, right? We've all been to a party, got busted by the cops.
Right.
It was always, something was always said different to white people by the cops. It was always, what are you doing here?
What?
What do you mean, what am I doing here, right? Like, this
here.
is
This
everybody,
a party.
right?
We are here.
So different instances like that, and I think, I mean, where I can really speak on it now, again, I grew up in that, you know, seeing the injustice, and if you don't, you're blind, right? You're not paying attention.
Come on now.
So, and I saw it and I realized it. It didn't matter that I went to public school too. It didn't matter that I lived in Rockford too. It didn't matter that I didn't have money. I have a privilege other people don't have. I can walk into a room and people will listen to me before they listen to you just because of the color of my skin. It's simple.
That's just what it is.
It's a sad word, but it's what it is. And so really for me, then going to law school, so I spent the last year as a public defender in the homicide task force here in Cook County.
Yeah.
And so I cannot tell you how much injustice I saw. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. For a year, I never had one white client. Not one. Right? And so I would go into the lockup and do bond court.
Yeah.
Guys charged with murder, never one white person, right? Ever. Never one white guy, never one white woman, just black men. And so you start to see this. I mean, I had a client who legitimately was picked up because one of the witnesses said, well, the guy who shot had dreads.
No way.
Someone gets picked up because they have dreads.
So that means
That's
like
enough, right?
like this, like
That's
I could get picked up right now then. And we like,
We
why?
saw an offender who had on orange shoes. I bet you we could walk around this beach and find 27 people that have orange shoes on. But the first person they find with orange shoes, that's who went, right? And so we won his case. He's home, but he did 5 years waiting for that. 5 years he won't get back. And my favorite story of all time, Xavier Walker.
Just the favorite story of all time.
My favorite story. So, and it really just speaks to me. So it kind of gives you, I feel like it really sums up kind of my journey and his all in one. So my very first day at the public defender's office, I go to court. The attorney I'm working for, she said, go back to the lockup. You got to meet Xavier. And this guy had done 20 years for a murder he did not commit. His case had been sent back because of ineffective assistance of counsel. So he had a bad lawyer.
Right.
They saw that he had a bad lawyer, so they said, okay, you got to do it again. So I go in, and I'm thinking, like, gosh, he's got to be just so worn out, right? Yeah. He's back. He's been in prison. Now he's back in the jail. That's two different scenes, right? And so the Cook County Jail is tough. I always say it's a tough place.
I heard of Cook County.
It's tough. And then the prisons are kind of more, it's just a different scene, right?
Right.
So he comes back to the county.
Like is Cook County more like it's like a rough environment? Because prison sometimes be like a more comfortable environment. You about to do this time, you can get a TV though.
Right,
you can kind of go out, do weights.
Exactly. Yep.
But in Cook County, you about to fight. You better watch your snacks. You better, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spot on. So he's back in the county, and I go in there thinking, like, gosh, he's got to just be so worn out. I get to the lockup, and I'm like, Xavier's there, and Xavier in here, and he is smiling ear to ear. And I'm like, what? Right? Like, because if that was me, I'd be pissed at the world. Right? I'd be like, you've got to be kidding.
So you had to come in with a story of saying, like, we almost sorry, too?
So I'm his defense attorney, right?
Okay.
So it wasn't me that, I wasn't on his case 20 years ago.
Right.
But I feel for him because the system failed him, right? And I always say this, too, about the system and racial injustice. When people say the system is broken, the system was created that way. So the system was created by white people to help white people and to really enslave black people again. I believe that through and through. So when people say, the system is so broken, we have to fix it. No, we need to tear it down and rebuild one that works for all people. Because right now it doesn't.
There you go. It was really designed not even to just put people in jail. It was just for, like, since slavery, since they freed a lot of slaves, let's create this system where we could get them back in here.
Right.
And
to do it again.
There you go. But
at
the same time, it's like they not slaves anymore, but we could create this system to make it almost like they slaves.
Exactly.
Again. But now we can't do that either. So now we got to just pick things for them to go to jail for. Like, you going to jail for that,
so
like you said.
Xavier. So he's smiling, whatever. I went to visit him in the jail every week, right? Just getting to know him and doing all of these things and working on his case. And I won't get into all the nitty gritty, but he was convicted of a crime he did not commit. And
how you know he didn't commit it?
Again, I won't get into all of the details. It's a lot. We'd be here all day, right? If I was sitting here talking to you about all the
legalities. You have to tell me how everything added up to say that he didn't do it.
Right, exactly.
Okay, yeah, don't do that.
The thing I can say, no, he didn't.
He didn't do it.
So he it comes, we're working on his case. We're supposed to start this motion, right? So it's step one in getting the ball rolling. And I had taken my very last final, so my law school's 3 years. I just finished my second year, but this was after that first semester, second year. Final ends 10 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted, right? I've been studying for 3 weeks, 12, 13 hours a day of studying. Finally finished. Of course, we go out afterwards, get dinner, and I get home and I'm like, gosh, like I'm exhausted, right? Like, should I get up the next day and go? Xavier's case is about to start. Should I just take the day? And my alarm goes off like 6 a.m. and I'm like, it's Xavier, I gotta go, right? I gotta go. So I get up and I go there and I go, it's December, so just December 2019. And I go into the lockup and I said, hey, we're gonna start your case today. I'm excited. He's got Christmas cards for my family and for the other attorney's family and just like that guy, right? Just happy-go-lucky all the time. And his whole family's there, T-shirts, right, in the courtroom. And I ran to another courtroom. I came back, and the judge said, all right, we're not going to start this till after lunch, but let's just get a status on the case. And I'm sitting there. And the state's attorney, out of nowhere, judge was like, okay, what's the status? Said, motion state Ally Pruitt, which is a Latin term. If you don't go to law school, you have no idea what it means.
Right, I don't have no idea what it means.
But what that means is we are dropping the case. Like, just dropping it. And I've only ever heard that like one time in law school. And so I'm like, did they just say what I think they said? You know, like, what? So I stood up and like my jaw hit the floor. And the judge looks and was like, do you want me to question them on it? And the attorney I work for is like, hell no, right? Like, we're done, right? They immediately take Xavier back to the lockup. His whole family is like looking around like, what's going on? And so the attorney I work for, Julie Kaler, she starts crying and I start crying. And she looks at me and she said, go tell him what this means. I like literally get emotional talking about it because I go back in the lockup and I said, Xavier, do you know what this means? And he said, no, like, what does this mean? And I just looked at him and I said, you're going to go home today. For the first time in 22 years, you're going to go home today.
And how old was he?
40 years old. He went in at 18. And the entire lockup is
crazy,
standing ovation, high-fiving him. I'm literally crying. And I was like, this is it. This is why I do what I do, right? This makes all the long
right
nights
there.
And the studying and going to work and doing all these things and leaving home and not having family here, all of that. Like the months where could I pay the light bill or not? I'm working, I'm trying to get all this done. That was it, right? That was it for me. So actually, I was in St. Louis for New Year's Eve. And I got up New Year's Day, crack of dawn, caught the first train back for Xavier's welcome home party on New Year's Day 2020. So he came back, a huge party, right? Everybody was there, west side of Chicago. And it was, just the joy on his face, right? He proposed to his fiance, his girl stuck by him the whole time that night. Just special, right?
That's
special.
So
the system failed him. And it fails a lot of black men, right? But when you win those little victories, I always say, right, maybe I'm not going to change the entire world at one time, but I can change one thing. And if I continue to change one thing and another thing and another thing and just impact one individual at a time,
I might look up and everything be changed.
Right, we can get to where we got to go.
So what's next for you? All this going on, law school you might be an NBA agent. I might be hitting you up like sis, let me get some tickets or something, get me in. I don't know, but what's next for Ally?
I think for me, I'm talking
about when you talk about kids. I don't mean to cut you off when you talk about kids, marriage, whatever.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
Yeah, I think for me, next steps, I live day by day, but I also am the type of person who 5-year plan, right? Where do I want to be in 5 years? So I just turned 23 in March, and when I moved away from home, I was 18, and I gave myself 5 years, really frankly, like part of my language, just to get my shit together, right? It was just like, do that. And so for
That's
me,
real.
Now, okay, I just hit that 5-year mark, right? And I'm
what are you
far
doing?
beyond what I ever thought I would be.
Come on.
So for me, it's like, okay, what's the next 5 years look like? So yes, MBA agent. That's one of my things. And frankly, for me, it was growing up in a community where there really were two ways out. You're gonna play sports, or you're gonna go into the music business, or you're just gonna graduate high school.
Hold on, music business.
Right, like go rap, go sing, go something.
You don't rap.
No.
You sing?
No.
So that went out.
It wasn't it, right? That was like, we knew that when I came out the womb.
Who told you that?
It's just
that just was the thing. This is what it was. This or that. Or this or that.
But it's just like what you saw, right? It was just like,
it was
okay,
sing,
the only
rap,
people
basketball.
that made it out. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a thing. So for me, wanting to pursue, being an MBA agent, right now there's not a female agent that represents anybody who went in the first round. And so that's my goal. And 2 is obviously to finish law school, be a lawyer. 3, I just filed today, found out this past week, I'm starting my own nonprofit. It's called the Impact Project.
What?
Yeah. So I'm very excited. My phone is the logo.
What? The Impact Project?
Yeah. So the
you got a group of people that's involved in this?
Yeah,
I'm going to have to get connected with it.
But join us. Yeah, and we're looking for mentors. Yeah.
We're going to talk because I'm going to have to get involved in that.
So this is what I say about the nonprofit is, the mission is to impact the lives of youth in underserved communities by providing mentorship and guidance and resources. In helping youth reach their own success and understand their own success by providing them different and unique blueprints to success, right? Like, you're successful and you did it a different way than I did it, right? And I'm successful and I did it a different way. And everybody we know, your road to success is so different. But the biggest thing coming from, communities like we did is you look back on it and you're like, did anybody ever come back and tell us how to do it?
Right.
Did anybody do it? Right? And so for me, it's people who grew up in, also underserved communities. Let's come together and let's provide mentorship to our youth. I think that touches on everything we talked about today is, I believe so firmly in the next generation. And the only way we're going to make this world a better place is if we start with the kids.
That's real.
And so for me, by starting the Impact Project is to impact our youth in a positive way.
And I know you probably seen it on Instagram. We just spent a lot of money buying people shoes for Hibbett Sports.
Yeah.
We was connected with Hibbett Sports. But we've been doing a lot of great stuff in since this pandemic started. We paid a lot of people electric bills and awesome. Gas bills. And
especially in the pandemic, so many people lost their jobs, right?
Man, it was crazy. And then we was just having random people just drop their cash out. We was just, while we was paying bills, it was another computer we had where we was just sending people cash out money, just sending it. So what you're doing is just amazing. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, right? I'm looking forward to it.
We'll definitely have to collab.
We collabing for sure.
Yeah, that's
we collabing for sure. I thought I was gonna leave you hanging, but yeah, we collabing for sure.
I mean, that's my thing with the Impact Project is to just really impact the lives of youth, just like you were impacting people during the pandemic, right? Who are affected, or adults, kids that need shoes, right? Who doesn't want shoes?
Come on, man. And we was buying LeBron's, Kyrie's, we was buying whatever shoe that they said they wanted.
That's amazing. So yeah, that's kind of when you talk about next steps for me. I mean, it's definitely becoming a lawyer, becoming an agent. The CEO of this nonprofit, and for me, it's just the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. So I want to have multiple things on my plate, like I have up until this point. But the thing I always say too is there's not one thing I do that I'm not 110% passionate about.
All right.
And so everything that I have, I love, and I love doing, and I'm excited to kind of see where it goes, right, in the next 5 years, and who comes along for the ride, and how many lives we can touch,
So what the people don't know about you is that you got your own podcast. Well, my followers, I know your followers know about the podcast, and you say you're getting ready to drop a podcast about the bubble, about the NBA bubble.
Yes.
Kind of get us up to speed on what that conversation gonna be like, because I'm gonna be tuned in. It's gonna be on IG, I normally do live.
Yep. So. Really, you got your podcast kind of down packed. So when I was in college, I had one. It was called Who Runs the World.
Ooh.
And it was me and another female. And it was named that because at the beginning of every song we play Beyonce's Who Runs the World Girls, right?
Girls.
So we would play the
tough.
song, we would talk sports. So
yeah.
Obviously then went to law school, kind of changed speeds a little bit. One of my best friends in school, her name's Andy. We have the Ally and Andy show. And we're just kind of talking sports, but really the show attempts to intertwine the law, which is so prevalent in sports, and sports, right? So not only to give you our hot takes, if you will, right, and who we think's gonna win and why, but also to tell you what the heck has been happening this whole time? Are the NBA guys getting their whole salaries? What's the liability if somebody gets COVID in the bubble, right? What's gonna happen there? And also just let's be real, is it gonna work? Right? Is this gonna work?
Do you think it's gonna work? I think it's gonna work because they tested them and they gonna keep them in the bubble. They can't go nowhere else. They got restaurants and everything on the bubble. Everybody who get on the bubble, they can't get off.
But it's gonna be so dang different because there's guys not going, right?
It's guys saying they're not going.
I'm not doing it. And so there's Jamal Crawford, right? They're digging into the archives trying to find guys to come play.
J.R. Smith.
Right. So, you have all of that going on. But you have no fans. They're playing in really, it's like AAU. I played there,
It's going to be a G League game.
Right. And
no fans, no buzzer beaters.
None of that. It's just going to feel like open gym, right? It's literally going to feel like open gym. So the environment's going to be different. And let's be frank, there was 100% guys in the league who, when the league shut down, sat on their couch and ate a bunch of ho-hos and a bunch of brownies, right? And didn't do a damn thing. And now they have to go play. So I think it's just going to be a little bit different. But we'll be talking about that. And
who you think gonna win?
Before all of this, I was definitely Clippers all the way. Okay. Clippers, the new team in LA. That was my whole thing.
Okay.
But I really think I think Milwaukee's gonna be, the team in the East, and I think can never underestimate LeBron, right? He's
now she making sense. She making sense now.
You know, I think I really don't know. It's gonna be such a different vibe that, like the Kawhis and Giannis and LeBron, like they're coming and they're hooping and they're gonna play. But,
let me ask you a trick question.
Oh boy! All right.
What's your definition of championship or bust?
Like
Because I had a big argument with some of my boys. Okay. I told them that it's championship or bust for the Lakers. Period. That's the standard. And they were saying it's not championship or bust because they don't have a championship caliber team. I said, yes, they do. They got the eyes in Vegas and they #1 seed in the West. And they didn't put this team together with AD and all these other guys to say it's okay if we lose. I think it's championship or bust, but they were saying a Kawhi Leonard and a Clippers type of team is a championship or bust.
Okay, so in regards to the Lakers, I think I agree with you that it's championship or bust. However, I would go as far as to say it's championship or bust for them for every year LeBron's got left. Because every year that man plays, he's going to get a year older, a year where he's more tired, right? And so I think as long as he's on your team, you're in contention. Right, however, the more that goes on that you don't win, the harder it's going to be to win, right? That's why they brought in AD for him, right? And so I think when we're talking about the Clippers, I don't necessarily think they're as championship or bust because they got a lot of younger guys and they have a deeper bench.
They never did nothing together. Like the Clippers never even won a championship, period.
But they have a deeper bench and they brought in Kawhi, who's the star, right? And
do that make them championship or bust?
I mean, like I said, I think Clippers are the new team at LA.
I don't know why, but I mean that's fine. You have an opinion.
I think they really put that squad together. The Clippers
to take over LA. So if they don't, it'll be a bust situation.
But I don't really. Most of their guys they got on contract for at least a year or two more.
Yeah,
so that's why I don't think it's championship or bust for them. I think that team, in and of itself, has a few years of being that Clippers team, right? And I think we see so much now where if you want to contend in the NBA, you got to have a couple star guys.
And we'll just stop.
So, we'll see.
So yeah, that's good.
We'll see. We'll see how this goes. We'll
see, because you got the podcast, the sports podcast. So
I got a lot to say.
So we got to tune into your podcast to talk about all of that and the bubble and everything else.
But whatever happens this year in the league, I think is the championship we'll all remember. And I think there was conversation about will there be an asterisk? I think Taylor Rook said, will there be an asterisk next to whoever wins this year? And I can't remember who it was, but said because this is gonna be tough. Right, it's going to be a lot harder to play basketball right now.
Yeah.
So just with everything going on in the world and the pandemic and having months off, right, and playing in a bubble and not having your family or your kids or any of that, it's going to be tough. But we're all going to watch, right? Nothing else on.
We watching. We're going
to watch.
And I can't wait. I just thank you. I thank you. I came all the way down to talk to you. You got a beautiful spirit. Everything you're doing is great. Don't stop. Don't let nobody tell you nothing different.
Thank you. I appreciate you. It was an honor to be on the show, and glad y'all made it to my city.
Yeah, we made it to your city, and we gonna connect. We gonna stay connected because I believe that we came in contact for a reason. Even when you talk about our different skin colors and just moving things forward for the youth to not have this type of mindset, but. I hope you get the NBA agent position for I can be connected with you to go to some games or hit you up just to get on your nerves. But I thank you, sister. Until next time, this Speak On It. I'm the host, The Life Changer. This is my girl, Ally. Follow her on Instagram, Facebook.
All the above.
All of the above. You're going to see her name. You're going to see her soon somewhere. And it's just honored. It's just honored. Until next time. Don't hold it in. Speak on it.
So we went to go holler at the homeboy Nate, owner of DNA downtown.
Yeah.
So where they are now, they were across the street. So we went to go talk to Nate, and we were telling Nate what we was trying to do. And the first time we went, we was late. We wasn't professional, none of that. We just thinking off the strength, because they knew him.
Right.
So we taking advantage of the situation, kind of sort in a sense, like, that's our partner.
Right.
He ain't treat us like that. And he said it, like, bro, if I was Dame Dash, y'all wouldn't have came down here like that.
That's real.
We had to come back and regroup, bro. Like, I had to respect that, because I'm like, he ain't lying, though. Like, if that was my shot, I'd have missed it. So, like, still to this day, that stick with me, like.
Dang.
Yeah, because you don't never know when your window gonna close, bro.